Good afternoon, sir. This is Mrinmoyee from Team HITian Inside. Hello, HITians. We Team HITian Inside is back with another gem that our college possess, an ACM Sigmobile Rockstar, UIUC Distinguished Alumni, and IEEE Fellow, Professor Dr. Romit Roy Chowdhury from the very first batch of HITian Institute of Technology, that is 2000. Without further ado, let's dive into the chatting session with him. So my first question is focusing on the title of the wonderful seminar we just had. Can you kindly brief our audience on how different your life was during and after your BTech?
First of all, thank you for inviting me here. I'm very grateful that so many of you came to the seminar. Regarding that question, if I give the answer in a word, HIT life was fun. Post-HIT life was hard and rigorous. Okay? But if I want to expand on that, HIT life was really about friends, social connections, sports, lot of cultural activities. We had a band in which I was a self-taught guitarist. I could not play very well, but I had a friend who played really well and he taught me a lot of that. We had singers. It was a lot of good stuff except academics. Okay? Academics, we were reasonable, but that was not the priority. So it was really a very fun time. And friends are something I took away from it for life. I mean, I still hang out with all the friends that I made in my undergrad. They know all my weaknesses. They know all the wrong things that I did and vice versa. So that was really, really fantastic. And I cherish those moments in terms of friends, fun, and, all-round growth. Post-HIT, it was very academic. And it was particularly difficult because I had a lot of holes in my academic foundations. So I spent a lot of time trying to make up for those holes, and therefore I would say it was rigorous. I had to work much harder than I would work, but it was very low on friends. It was very lonely. I could not have many of the fun that I had in Haldia, but somehow I had finished having fun. I had all the fun I needed to have, and I had to go through a very rigorous phase of academic preparation. So the post-Haldia life was a lot of preparation for things that I had to do after that.
Second question is, do you regret the mistakes you made during your BTech? Mistakes like not being in a routine, bunking classes, or remaining awake late night, or any mistake that you regret making during your BTech life?
I really want to answer that question because I think it's a very good question. I'll be frank, okay? I'm not going to romanticize my life during BTech. I definitely regret certain things, okay? There's a lot of time I wasted aimlessly. And what I mean by that is, if you want to watch movies, watch movies. If you want to have fun, have fun. But I think we had a lot of time in which things that we did not make me a more humorous person, did not make me become a better thinker about movies, did not make me a better analyst in sports, did not grow my sports career. So there was a lot of fun that was unproductive fun, right? I'm a major believer in having fun, right? And I think there's a room to have a lot of fun. And if someone puts me in a BTech life once again, I would have a lot of fun. But I think there's still a lot of room in which I wasted that time aimlessly. I would convert those times into something meaningful. And that meaningful need not be academics, but that meaningful might be read certain things that excites me, right? Sports, right? A lot of people enjoy sports. I would enjoy a lot more sports. I would read a lot more books that I did not read. I would maybe watch a lot more movies that I did not watch at that time. I would try to convert fun to be a little bit more meaningful fun. Maybe I would do a startup. At least I'd think about startup related ideas, and that's fun too, right? Maybe I would try to help join some NGO and do something. That's fun too. it need not be academics, but it could be fun in many other ways that gives you growth. That's the regret I have. The regret I don't have is I made great friends and I spent time with friends. So even if I come back, even if someone puts me back in a time machine and puts me in 1996, I would have all these fun with my friends, but I would try to change the nature of those fun to something that's a little bit more meaningful. And I want to really say this, that these are not mutually exclusive, which means if you do something meaningful, it's not that you cannot have fun. I think you can have both, because 4 years gives you enough time to do both, right? Have fun and yet do something meaningful. I think there's a lot of room for that.
My third question is, what was your pay when you just started off versus what is the general pay of freshers during masters in the USA?
So when you say general pay of masters, you mean their stipend, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Ushacom was a company that came to interview, and we were the first set of students to get a job from Holdia. They offered us, if I remember right, 16,000 rupees per month. Okay. We didn't know if it was good or bad, but I decided to take it, but I was planning to write GRE, and at that point, I was actually very much steeped in research, so I was really focused on that, but I decided to take it anyway. So that was 16,000 rupees per month. When I went over for masters and PhD, generally masters PhD stipends are in the orders of $2,500 per month. And you should not compare $2,500 to 16,000 rupees, because cost of living and everything is also very different. But what I can say is, for masters or PhD, when you're there, this stipend is far more than enough. Meaning, if you get $2,500 to live as a reasonable student, which means you have an apartment, you have a TV, you go to the gym, you have health insurance, you can fly to India every year, all of that put together, even including your flight tickets to India every year, your total expenses would be $2,000, $2,200 per month, which means you save around $300 per month, right? So as a PhD student or a master student, you get paid adequately to completely live a very good life. So that's what you need to think of in terms of comparing the two, if someone wants to compare. Yeah. And I also want to emphasize this, because a lot of people ask this question in the seminar today. To do a PhD in the US, 99% of the students do not pay any money out of their pocket. You get a fellowship, you get a stipend to do a PhD, and that stipend is more than enough.
Kindly enlighten us about the benefits as well as the cons, if any, of higher studies.
So I think the pros and cons, the main pros and cons is the following. Everyone has an inner compass, right? Everyone has a direction in which that's the direction that they enjoy going in, and there's a direction that they don't enjoy going, right? So the pros and cons are really person specific. If you really enjoy doing research, that's the best thing for you to do, right? If you do not enjoy doing research, that's the worst thing for you to do, right? So that's the high level answer. I would say, to break it down a little bit more, I would say that, I don't know, I'm biased because I like doing it, right? I just derive a lot of pleasure in, first of all, believing that this is an unsolved problem, and if I can solve it, it makes a difference to the world, right? Even that problem definition makes me excited, that I can do something that, if I can do it, there's a very small probability I can solve it, but if I can, then it makes the world a better place. That's one. And the second thing I enjoy doing is, if someone gives me a puzzle, I can stay with that puzzle for hours and hours, right? Even if someone says it's very hard puzzle, I don't care if I can solve it. Just playing with the puzzle makes me happy, right? The con is if you don't like playing with the puzzle, then you're going to not enjoy it. So that's really the trade-off. And the other thing I would say is, I enjoy money too. People who say they don't like money, I think there are very few people like that. Most people like money when you have a family, when you have kids, when you have parents. You need money. I need money. I want money. But it's a matter of how you compromise, right? Or how it's a convex combination of the two. I would say I need some money and I need some amount of pleasure, and that fraction varies for different people. There are some people who can live with much less money than what I need. There are some people who need much more money than what I need. So I think the pros and cons is a function of who you are, right? If you need 25% money and 75% of intellectual pleasure, then that determines the pros and cons of doing research. If you are a person who needs 90% money and 10% of intellectual satisfaction, that determines the pros and cons, right? But one thing I would say is, from a lot of my friends and from a lot of people, I think I can infer that the love for money or the importance of money saturates over time. Meaning, the value that you attribute to money, you attribute much more value to money at a younger time than you attribute to a later time, right? And I think that is something one must consider for the long run. A lot of people make decisions for the short run. They say, oh, I would get money, right? I don't have any money. I would get money in the short term. Therefore, I would go for it. But I think you should really look at the long-term trajectory and make decisions. And if you still think money is important to you, great.
What, according to you, are some of the best locations for higher studies?
Best locations, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Okay, that's the best location. No, I think, there's always a quality variance, right? There's always a quality spectrum. So, and there are ways to find out what is a place where a particular university, a college lies in that spectrum. So, generally, if you go higher in the spectrum, the quality of education is more exciting, more rigorous, more fulfilling. One thing I would say is there are places in India that are fantastic. I would say IITs, IISCs, they do a lot of good research. TIFR. And at the same time, in the US, there are some fantastic universities as well. One thing I would say is that US spends a lot more of its budget on academics, on universities. That gives some benefits. And that benefits translates to a little bit of better infrastructure. And I think more importantly, the salary gap between US industry and US universities, that salary gap is smaller than the salary gap between Indian industry and Indian universities. And I think that makes a difference in the quality of education that you get. Right? It's hard to give you names. There's one name that I can give you, which is University of Illinois. But there are several other universities and there are rankings that are available. US News is a good website that gives you rankings of US universities. That's a good place to see the rankings of universities. There are easy ways to figure out where in the spectrum a university lies. And if you think about what's a good place, I think generally it correlates well. That ranking reasonably correlates to performance, to the quality of education they give. Yeah.
My next question is related to your answer. How different is the teaching learning process of higher studies in India and in abroad? Can you please compare?
I've not done higher studies here, so it's a little bit hard for me to compare. I think, okay, so one obvious one is that the US universities are lucky to get strong students from all over the world, right? As a result, the peer group by design becomes very strong. Okay. So once the peer group is strong, that obviously makes a change in allows faculty to teach at a higher level. Like I mentioned, I think the professors are also people who are interested in academia. Even if they have offers from industry, often they join academia. In fact, in most cases, the university professors have a lot of offers from industry, but they still come and do this because they can do research. So that quality, I think, is, in general, that's an advantage. Industry also closely works with academia in many cases, especially in applied research. That's an advantage. And I think the exposure that university students get. Okay, I'll give you an example. At UIUC, at Urbana-Champaign, our department on average hosts 20 seminars every day. So every day, on the average, a student has an option to go to one of 20 seminars. Okay? On average, 2 industries are visiting the campus every day. Okay? Companies come to our research group meetings every few months. Okay? The university faculty are much more engaged in research in the US. In fact, they get paid for 9 months of the year. For the remaining 3 months, they can pay themselves, which means they need to apply for research grants, money for research. That money comes in, and a part of that money they can pay themselves for their salaries, right? So if they don't do research, they don't get a salary during 3 months of summer, right? So all of this put together brings research at front and center in an university, and teaching and everything is kind of wraps around this research, which I think is an important element of any academic environment. In India also there's a lot of research that happens, but I think that research scale is a little bit, the importance of research, the emphasis on research is a little bit more in US universities, but I think India is changing very rapidly. There's a lot of research that's beginning to happen in many universities. Yeah.